Hey guys, Coach Sean here. So I'm currently training for my fourth marathon overall, the virtual Dublin Marathon. And the reason I wanted to do the virtual marathon this year was because it basically the last 3 years I have ran a marathon. And this year, everything coming in with COVID and all the rest, it was very easy just to back out and say, nah, I'm not going to do it this year. But just because, stack again. Hey guys, Coach Sean here. At the moment, I'm currently training for my fourth marathon, so I'm not no record beater when it comes to running. Hey guys, Coach Sean here, and today we're going to be talking about how I failed my first marathon. So at the moment, I'm training for my fourth marathon, the virtual marathon this year in Dublin. That's coming up in 2 weeks as of recording this, and what happened was this was supposed to be just a one and done. So what I'm going to be talking about for the next 10 minutes or so is pretty much a 101 on how not to run a marathon. And it's mad that I'm in this mindset now of I want to make it a yearly thing, and I enjoy looking forward to October. And it gives me something to look forward to October Bank Holiday, which sounds weird, but to have this event of the marathon and then everything that goes with it, and it just makes the night out that night or hanging out with friends or family just that extra bit special because you feel like you've worked hard towards and you made your sacrifices throughout the months in your training to build to this big occasion. But to get back to the first one, I mean that's not anything to do with why I did it in the first place. None of that came into it. The reason I wanted to do a marathon, and I'm embarrassed to say it really, was I just wanted to one and done. That was it. Just one marathon in, done. To say I did it. So I was trying to build myself up as a personal trainer, and I just wanted to do different fitness things pretty much, and one of them happened to be a marathon because my joke on it was leading up to it was if someone asked me should I train to do a marathon or should I do a marathon, I'd be like, yeah, no, I did that and it sucked, don't do it. And that was it. Well, as crazy as it seems now, someone's about to do their fourth, that was it. It was just a one and done. It was literally, and I hate to say it, it was just an ego boost. I just had this notion I'd be able to run all day, I'd be able to do it, not a bother, and that'd be it. And to add more shame into this build up to the first marathon, I wanted to do it under 4 hours. I looked it up online, seen what the average was, and the average for guys to run the Dublin Marathon. So the Dublin Marathon and marathon is general, I'm not too sure, but it was 4 hours and 5 minutes. I thought I'd round it off under 4 hours, to quote Declan Moffat from that skit from Tommy Tiernan, maybe I'll win the feckin' thing. But so the furthest I'd ever ran was 10k, and I never had that feeling. I don't recall ever having that feeling of getting really tired in the run and not being sure if I was going to finish the run. So a lot of my training when running was literally training other groups to run, and I was going at their pace and I was encouraging them to go through it. I wasn't even thinking about, geez, how am I doing 5k or 10k? It was just get this person through the 5-10k, and that took my mindset off how I was feeling and how I was breathing and everything else to go with it, and different paces and stuff as well. So it was never, not to sound egotistical about it, but it was never hard for me to get someone through a 5k. It just wasn't. I was just thinking too much about them. We used to have, this is going back years and years in my boot camps, we used to do a 5k loop, and I would have people up the front, I'd be running up to them to see how they were, and then running back to check on other people, see how they were getting on, and I'd be cutting through corners to check on other people and just to make sure everyone was alright. So I'd be running non-stop for 20, 25, 30 minutes to check, see how people are getting on, working their breathing, slow them down if necessary, and if they were walking, okay, we're going to walk to this next tree or this next junction, and then we're going to build up again. So I was never thinking about myself, and I was like, geez, if I did this now about a 5-10k, yes, 42k is a lot. I'll have to do a little bit of training, but I'm going to be able to do it. There's going to be no bother. I would definitely be able to do this training. So I did some training, and the first time I knew I was in a little bit of bother was I couldn't get my mind around training longer than an hour. I would get to 10 miles max, and 10 miles is probably, no, I wouldn't get 10 miles, I'd probably get to 8 mile max, 13, 14k, and I would just get bored and I would stop. Now, it was getting tough, don't get me wrong, and I wasn't going at any great pace to challenge myself. I would literally listen to an album and just then just run and do what I can, and that was it. Like, I was just bleh. So the first real challenge we did, we're down in Kilkenny, and we did the half marathon down there. Sorry, we did a half marathon down there, and we pushed. I was there myself and Eric. We pushed each other through it, and got to the 10 mile mark. I'm like, oh, this is different. And I started feeling the legs started to go, the breathing started going, the walking started and stopped, and I was like, we're in trouble here. But we got through it and we got it done. And we did the half in 1 hour 55. Once again, I'm no world beater. I'm not a great runner. In terms of just what a lot of people can do. Like, I'm somewhere in the middle of the pack, and I'm okay with that. I just do it for fun. I have no aspirations to do great running, but it's like 1 hour 55. Oh, they usually say half marathon, you add 15 minutes to it, and that'd be your full. So I was like, 155, double it, 350. I'm at 405. That's wrong. That can't be right. Is it? 155. Yeah, I'm not pausing this. I'm thinking this true. 155, 350. Yeah, 405. It's like, I'm not too far off the pace. Not even thinking I'm to stop and starting, near from 10 miles on. I was like, I'll make that up in a couple of weeks. No bother, be grand. And I was like, sure, what if I fail? It just doesn't matter. No, the Dublin Marathon is not a big deal. And even those words coming out of my mouth, I was like, what are you thinking, Sean? What are you thinking? But that's what I was thinking back then. Wasn't a big deal. And then did a little bit more running towards it. Didn't do a whole lot. Never got close to a half marathon. You're supposed to build to at least three-quarter marathon before going to it. Never put those miles in the legs. And on the day of the marathon, I'll never forget getting all these messages from people I do the boot camps with. We had a Facebook group, so someone put it up and everyone else started coming, best luck, and I realised this is a big deal. And I don't know why. I never thought of a big. I thought it was just another race, another run. Do what you can, and that's it. Then I realized this is such a big deal. I better not fail here. I'm after telling people I'm going to get under 4 hours just to give myself that little extra push. And it hasn't worked my training because I never ran as much as I should have ran. So the marathon came along. We paced ourselves at the start, feeling really good. Ran side by side, and I was like, this is going to be okay. We got in around outside the park, and then we headed up Chapel Lizard Hill, heading towards Kilmainham. And I remember going up that hill. I remember getting to the top of it going, I am in serious trouble here, because it just took it out of me. And we are 11 miles into it at this stage. Is it 11? No, 11. Yeah, it is around 11 miles into it at this stage. It's around 2-3 miles before the half marker. And I was like, I am in serious trouble. And Eric was ahead of me a bit. I'm like, he's got to do really well. And then I saw Eric as well. His hips start going side to side big time. Like, he's in big trouble. And then that just made me feel even worse, because I was like, if he's all right, I'll end up sticking with him somehow, some way to get through. And that didn't happen. So his hips went, and I think we passed the halfway, still running. It was around a 2 hour at that stage, and the 4 hour thing just went. I was like, oh, forget 4 hour. Let's just finish today. And I remember he dropped first, and when he stopped walking, I started walking with him. And I was like, oh, we're going to be in trouble. I was like, right, I'm good to go again. Let's start running. He started running again, and I couldn't get going. That once I stopped, once my momentum went and everything was gone, and I held him back for for pretty much the last 10, 11 miles of the race. So I felt like crap over. We just ruined each other's momentum. We just couldn't keep going. He definitely finished stronger than I did, and it was like the closest we came to killing each other during this race. Like, I know him 10 years, and this is the one time we ever came close to blows. Now, it would have been the worst fight ever, because none of us, we had no energy. It was unbelievable. But the crowds in Dublin was insane. So we, like, as soon as a big crowd comes, like, right, find a way to get through this crowd. Once that crowd was gone, then you kind of slowly walk through to the next big crowd. And if you've ever seen Dublin or ran Dublin, you know the lack of crowd is few and far between, especially that second half of the race. So there's always people there somewhere. So I was like, my God, walk for a bit, run for a bit, walk for a bit, run for a bit. And I eventually finished well over the 4 hour mark. Of 5 hours it took me. I'm disgusted to say that. I never wore the t-shirt afterwards. I don't even know where the medal was. And the point of this whole story was, I built it up, I do under 4. I told everyone I do under 4. And here I am, walking the Dublin Marathon while people are running by me, while there's crowds watching, knowing I failed. And I remember the 30 kilometre mark. I remember there was a video camera there looking at me. I remember just thinking and looking, I was like, next year you're going to do this right. But that was next year. I had a whole year to try and prove myself. It's like that team that loses in the finals, and they're like, right, we've got another year of dealing with this to go again. So I knew I had another year of having this hanging over me. And I thought, because I'd said it so much, and because I was so arrogant, I suppose, about it, that I was going to get a ton of abuse, and rightfully so, on how I failed this marathon. And in my mind, I definitely failed it. And to this day, I still think I failed it. I finished the marathon, but I completely failed my goal. I completely underestimated it. And I didn't feel good. Like, there's a picture of me. I posted up a shorter version of this on Instagram last Friday. And I crossed the line and I just looked disgusted. I mean, it's a perfect picture of pain and disgust. I could barely move my legs. I'm disgusted with the time. I'm just disgusted with my attitude to it in general. And I knew I went for a word of abuse. But here's the thing. I got feck all abuse. The odd joke here or there, which is funny. So that's warranted. But people didn't care. They just said you did it. Fair enough. Did you do it on the floor? Nah, you didn't care. And that's a good thing, because in your mind, you always build it up as worse than it is. And sometimes you don't go for a challenge for the fear of failure, the fear what people think. And it really doesn't matter, because even if they did give abuse, it would have been for a week or so, and then it's gone. That's it. It's the end of the story. And people sometimes don't try and push themselves or excel to a challenge because they're afraid of what others might think if they fail. And you always build it up as a lot worse than what it's actually going to be. And that's what I found out the hard way when doing this marathon, that it's always worse. Like, there's a Japanese proverb, the fear of failure, and what others might say is, like, the fear is only as deep as the mind allows. The second part is the Japanese proverb. The fear is only as deep as the mind allows. So the worst thing you can ever do when approaching a challenge is thinking, what are others going to think if I fail this? Because people don't care. And one last thing on this, I've read this recently. It was an Instagram post or something that someone put up, just to hammer home my point in this. So, like, actually, two more points in this. One is, there's so much information these days that, like, even if people care, like, even if you completely embarrass yourself in some way, shape, or form and it's recorded, like, it's gone in 12, 15 hours, and it's moved on to something else. I mean, like, look at like the US elections and stuff, and people picking out different stuff that Trump has said or done and stuff like that, and he's still president, and like, even that lead up to that election, like, oh, he said this, he's not going to get in now, he did that, and he's not going to get in now. I'm not getting into politics or right, wrong, or anything like that, but he said a lot of different things, and it's like, oh, his campaign is dead. But yeah, the news cycle just moved on and went on to something else, and like, even this year, like, this has been such a long year that has somehow flew by so fast, and I realize that is a paradox, but in my mind it's true. Like, if you think about all the stuff that happened throughout the year, if you actually sat and thought about it, it's like, whoa, that was this year. Oh, that was this year. Things go by so fast. But what I really want to say was what I read, I think was on Instagram. And just think of something you did that's very cringy. Like, that makes you just shudder, and you're like, oh God. Now, 4 or 5 things pop into my head straight away that I've done. I could probably think of a lot more now that I'm thinking about it. But just think about something you did that makes you cringe, that makes you go, ooh, don't like that, don't like thinking about that. That's horrible. Now think of your friend. Think of the exact same thing for them. One thing straight away that makes them cringe. Didn't come to you. Now, I'm assuming it didn't come to you straight away. If it did, think of another person. Think of another person. Now think of another person. You think of 4 people. You think of one thing that makes them, that would make them cringe, or you would cringe for them. And you probably can't think of it straight away. And the reason is because so many things happen, you move on. And that when you could think of something that made you cringe very, very quick, is because you think about it and you analyze it over and over again, and you're like, oh, why did I do that? Whereas other people, they forget about it. They move on. There's too much to go on with. So, long story short, very long story short, if you have a goal, go for it. Don't think what other people think. And when it comes to that first marathon, my goal was still the following year to do it in under 4 hours. And I get back to how I got out of that. Now, that wasn't a hard video to get through now, was it? I hope you guys got some value out of the video. If you did, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to Coach John's channel, which is somewhere here. Hit that button, subscribe to Coach Sean's channel, leave a thumbs up. There should be a couple of other videos around here for you guys to check out. And that's all from me, from Coach Sean. Take care.